From entering the big leagues as a three-time NCAA wrestling champ to gearing up to face Trayshawn Gore in his second UFC bout, this is the rise of Bo Nickal in the UFC. The red-headed lads are finally having their moment. They've got people like Prince Harry, Ed Sheeran, Sean McVay, Justin Turner, and now you can add another name to that fiery list, Bo Nickal. Bo might not be a household name just yet, but let me tell you, in the world of mixed martial arts, he's the hottest redhead around. He may just have become Mr. 4-0 in the UFC, but being a three-time NCAA champ from Penn State University, Bo was already a big deal in the wrestling world. Before making the leap to MMA now, I'm not saying that he's at the level of backyard brawler Kimbo Slice, but this guy's a grappling beast, which explains how he seamlessly integrated his wrestling prowess into his MMA game. I want to talk about what really got people talking though, and that's his submission game. I mean, there's a reason Bo's called a human anaconda. It's because he squeezes the life out of his opponents once he gets a hold on them, wringing them like a wet towel right there in the middle of the octagon. And although his grappling far outclasses his striking skills, Bo can still hold his own against the best sluggers in his division, even winning his first pro fight with a single-round knockout. Fight after fight, Bo has wiped the floor with his enemies, locking them down with everything from arm bars to rear naked chokes, and being kind enough to give them two choices, blackout or tap out. If you think you could take him to the mat and survive, then I'm gonna have to stop you right there, because trust me, pal, you're not that guy. Even seasoned UFC vets don't want to get caught in his web of destruction, and I don't blame them one bit. I mean, just look at his track record and you'll see what I'm saying. Take his clash with the ADCC champion Gordon Ryan, for example. This wasn't your ordinary grappling match, as they competed under a modified rule set designed to level the playing field between Brazilian jiu-jitsu and wrestling, which meant no guard pulling or leg locks, meaning that Bo was practically competing with only half of his skill set. The match started off a bit slow, with both competitors feeling each other out, but boy, did it escalate quick, with Ryan launching a series of scissor leg sweep attacks, using them to bring Nickal to the ground and score two valuable points. But Nickal learned fast, managing to avoid Ryan's leg sweeps in their next standing exchange, causing him to try using different multiple takedowns and locking up Nickal. No matter what he tried though, Bo simply refused to go down, frustrating Ryan. Then in a bold move, Ryan exposed his leg and back, taunting Nickal to try and come at him. To Bo's credit though, he initially resisted the temptation, but with time running out, he couldn't resist any longer, and he grabbed hold of Ryan with a burst of energy, pulling off a beautiful freestyle wrestling takedown and slamming him to the mat. With the match tied at 2, the pressure was on, and the modified rules meant that the fight continued on the ground, which Bo wasn't as proficient at yet. Even without the use of leg locks, the guy was up against a master, who swiftly positioned himself, taking Bo with a shoulder trap sweep before locking him in a tight triangle choke. And with about 2 minutes left on the clock, Nickal had no choice but to tap out, granting Ryan the submission victory. Despite the loss though, Bo continued onward, this time focusing on matches without any training wheels stuck on him. And after crushing it at the 2020 US Olympic trials for wrestling, he decided to try his luck in the amateur MMA scene. On September 24, 2021, Nickal stepped into the cage to face off against David Conley. The adrenaline was pumping, and the excitement was off the charts. Nickal unleashed his grappling skills in round 1, locked Conley in an arm triangle choke, and although he tried his best to break free, Conley eventually tapped out. This win let Nickal know that pure MMA was the way to go, and he wasted no time arranging another bout just 2 months later on November 5th, 2021, squaring off against Billy Good. And boy, did he bring the heat! With lightning-fast precision, Nickal connected a single, perfectly placed punch on Good's chin, sending the opposing fighter crashing to the canvas like a sack of potatoes. Let me remind you once again, all of this was before he turned pro, and he'd already bagged 2 first-round victories, so you can already guess just how much of a menace he was going to be in the big leagues. Bo made his professional MMA debut on June 3rd, 2022, in a middleweight division bout against John Nolan at the Greater Richmond Convention Center in Richmond, Virginia. And let me tell you, it was one of the best debuts of all time, knocking out his opponent less than a minute into the first round, letting folks know he was there to dominate. For his second pro matchup, Bo stepped into the octagon at Dana White's Contender Series 49, where he locked horns with Zachary the Dragon Borrego on August 9, 2022. Even though Borrego missed weight at the weigh-ins, coming in 1.5 pounds over the limit, the fight proceeded at a catchweight, with the Texan facing a fine that went straight into Bo's pocket. But the dude paid for his mistakes more than once, getting caught in a vicious rear naked choke submission in the first round, proving once again that Bo's ground game was on another level. Despite the absolute show he put on in his debut, Bo wasn't immediately rewarded with a UFC contract due to his limited experience. But fear not, folks, because instead of throwing a fit, he decided to drop by Contender Series 56 later on September 27, 2022. This time, his opponent was Donovan Beard, and Bo wasted no time in showcasing his superior submission prowess. In a blink and you'll miss it 52 seconds, Bo locked Beard in a triangle choke and forced him to tap out, earning himself a flawless victory so impressive that it finally earned him his well-deserved UFC contract. There, he was meant to make his debut against Jamie Pickett at UFC 282 on December 10, 2022. But unfortunately, fate had other plans as Bo was forced to withdraw due to injury. Luckily, the fight gods graced fans with a true Christmas miracle, rescheduling the matchup for March 4, 2023 at UFC 285. And this time, Bo was ready, going for his 6th first-round victory and 3rd triangle choke submission, letting the audience know that he was about to make the UFC his playground. The win also earned him a Performance of the Night bonus, but not without controversy, because Pickett's manager, sniffing out a chance to try and get Bo disqualified, tried to appeal the fight to the Nevada Athletic Commission. Why, you may ask? Well, you see, by pulling the first excuse he could find, he claimed that the referee didn't notice Bo kicking his fighter in the nuts and using the pain to secure the submission. Talk about going balls to the walls in desperation. Thankfully, the NAS shut him down just as quick as Pickett tapped out, and Bo retained his victory. Let me recap here a bit. In the last 6 fights that this guy has had, both amateur and pro, he's finished all of them in the first round. You'd have a better chance of finding a unicorn doing the Macarena in the middle of Times Square than finding someone else with numbers like these. Let's see if Nickal can keep this streak going in his upcoming fight against Tresean Gore in the upcoming UFC 290 event at LA's T-Mobile Arena on July 8, 2023, trying to hit lucky number 7 in his round 1 wipeouts. The rising star is gearing up for his 2nd appearance in the big leagues, and it's all going down during the UFC's biggest week of the year, the legendary International Fight Week. You might remember Gore as a finalist on season 29 of The Ultimate Fighter, who, after a rocky start with 2 losses in the UFC, bounced back with a jaw-dropping 2nd-round guillotine choke, leaving his opponent Josh Fremp tapping out at UFC Vegas 63. Looks like it's going to be a battle of the grapplers. And the big question on everyone's mind is, can Gore be the one to put an end to Bo Nickal's impressive winning streak? Or will he just become victim number 5 on his pro record, adding to the growing list of fighters who couldn't handle the Nickal style? You tell me. So, from gearing up to face Tresean Gore in his 2nd UFC bout, to entering the big leagues as a 3-time NCAA wrestling champ, this was everything you need to know about the rise of Bo Nickal in the UFC.